Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, sports fans. My name is George Sigle, the host of your show that's still searching for a name. I just wanted to come at you today with the week in sports and what is going on in the sports world and what are the big topics. Let's get started right away with college basketball. College basketball is one of my favorites, and we are literally less than a month away from Selection Sunday. For those of you that don't know what Selection Sunday is the Sunday that happens before the NCAA tournament. The NCAA tournament is a 68-team tournament, a one-game play for all, play till you finish, see who wins, and move on. Survive and advance is the way they do it, and that's kind of what makes the NCAA basketball tournament one of the best in the world and a great way of figuring out who the national champion is, because you get one shot. You get your small mini tournament every weekend. You play 1 versus 16, 2-15, and so on and so forth. Normally the matchups work in a very convenient way for the upper seeds, and that's why you want to be an upper seed. Also, the lower seeds, they got to fight and scrap, and then that is truly why they are called the Cinderella story. We are less than 1 month away from this, and I got to tell you, I am absolutely excited, ecstatic. I can't even, I'm so excited, I don't even know what to call it. So I went over a little bit last week with the NCAA tournament, what's coming up, the teams to look out for, and what's going on. I went over a couple different things looking at where we are right now in college basketball. This past week in college basketball, it really showed us that there are a few more teams that could make noise that the public wasn't ready for. This past weekend, Kentucky had hosted number 1 Tennessee. Very big game, very big for college basketball as a whole, and Kentucky ended up winning the game by 16 points. It was really a great effort by their freshmen. John Calipari did a great coaching job with this one, and Tennessee just really, as soon as the second half happened, never really was in the game, which was very shocking to see, especially with the amount of juniors and seniors they have on their roster. And then if you move on in college basketball, some other big games that have happened recently was Cincinnati playing Houston. Houston prevailed and really proved that they could be the winner of the AAC conference, which has a lot of good teams, underrated teams, very lunch pail type teams, the teams that will work hard and try and get that victory. But I got to be honest with you. I am so ecstatic. This week is my week. It's my week, and you want to know why? Because my game is on tomorrow night. You got Duke, number 1 Duke, playing North Carolina. Recent reports and in social media, I read that there are basketball tickets for this game going on sale for as much as Super Bowl tickets. Absurd? Crazy? I don't think so. I think there are a lot of people out there that want to see the players that are going to be on the court this week. It's going to be what they're saying is Duke has top three out of the top 10 picks in this upcoming NBA draft. And North Carolina, even though they might not have the best talent, they have a lot of great players, and this is going to be very interesting moving forward and to see how they operate. So get in front of your television, ESPN, tomorrow, 9 p.m. It literally will blow your mind. There will be talent running up and down the court, slam dunks, three-pointers. Such a rivalry like this is incredible for the game, and I think that's one of the things that has always drawn me in. as far as the power rankings, there really isn't much change from last week with the power rankings because what happened was you had Duke ended up moving into the number 1 seed. Virginia moved up 2 spots, and Tennessee dropped from number 1 to number 3. Gonzaga held the 4 spot, and then everything else kind of stayed the same except you had Villanova dropping out of the top 16 and Iowa State moving in. This is going to be very interesting moving forward because the Big East only has 1 team in the top 16, and that is Marquette. But on the other hand, you really don't see very many Big 12 teams. You have Kansas and Iowa State. I read a couple different reports, and I think when it comes down to rankings for the tournament, it comes down to the power of conference and where they are at as far as teams are concerned. What are your best teams? What are your worst teams? And what's it look like in between? Right now, if you were to look at the conference rankings as posed by ESPN, you have the ACC as the best conference. You have the Big 10, Big 12, SEC, Big East, the American Conference, the American Athletic Conference, which people are like, what? It's Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, the local school Temple. South Florida is in that one. And then you have the Pac-12. The reason the ACC is number 1, I truly believe, is because top to bottom, they're a little tougher than most conferences. I think they have a little more going for them. They're looking probably to get 8 or 9 teams in the big dance. The question is, out of those 8 or 9 teams, how many teams can really make some noise moving forward and advancing to the Sweet 16 and advancing to the Final Four? I look going into just looking at the power rankings, your 3 out of your top 8 teams are from the ACC: Duke, Virginia, and North Carolina. Now, of course, I got to mention North Carolina. They're my squad. But also because these 3 teams have a legit shot of possibly making the NCAA tournament. But we have to, keep our eyes peeled. And remember, we are still a month away, and some teams just start playing their best basketball later in the season. So if they're playing their best basketball later in the season, they get hot. You don't know. Basketball is a funny sport that way, and it only takes one weekend where an underdog can upset one of the top seeds. So we'll see moving forward how this all plays out. The Big 12 ranked number 3, or the Big 10. I think the biggest problem with the Big 10 is with them being number 2 is you have some really top-notch programs, but you have Michigan, Michigan State, and Purdue in the top 16, rating at 6, 10, and 12. And the reason you're looking at that is, other than that, they really don't have a lot as far as potential getting past the Sweet 16. I think that's where their conference ranking is a little lower. They rated them on a couple different categories: star power, watchability, which is a big one. I could watch any college basketball ever. I think the other night, I was watching when my wife walked into the door was South Carolina State versus Norfolk State, and my wife goes, you don't even know these teams. Yeah, babe, I get it, but it's basketball and it's on television. I'm watching it. I'm sorry. That's what I do. So, then it goes to Big 12. Is this going to be the year that Kansas finally doesn't win the Big 12? Possibly, but I think it's a detriment to the Big 12 because the teams are all kind of middle of the pack teams, and you don't really see a standout team. And even Kansas struggles to score sometimes and struggles when they're not on their home court. So we will see how this works out moving forward. Then you have the SEC, very top-heavy conference: Kentucky, LSU, and Tennessee. And then after that, you're sitting there going, wait a second, who's the next best team in that conference? And I don't even think they really know. honestly. And I think that's going to be a very interesting tournament. It's going to be played in Nashville at Bridgestone Arena. It's going to be a great tournament. I only say that because my in-laws are down there. And it's going to be very interesting to see who can come out of that conference and really advance past the Sweet 16 for that conference. We could definitely have one conference with more than one team in the Final Four. But then again, you don't know. And also, you got the Cinderella stories. Maybe the Gonzaga gets there, or Nevada gets there, or even a Houston team. You know, there are quite a few teams that are playing good basketball right now. Hopefully, they're peaking when the tournament comes. But we will see that. We will see. So, on to the NFL. With the NFL, we're in the NFL offseason, but it's a very interesting offseason because there are very many issues going on that don't even relate to football, or also have some big names moving to some big spots. And then we have the draft combine coming up. Right now, today is the first official day that teams can lock in their franchise tag. So it's going to be very interesting to see where we are moving forward. And then going into the combine, who does what our team's needs. Remember, Arizona Cardinals are sitting there with the number 1 pick. Cliff Kingsbury has previously said, I would love to coach Kyler Murray. Well, Cliff, here's your chance. You could literally draft this man. So we'll see how it all plays out. Today, Antonio Brown and Steelers president Art Rooney II sat down, and they decided that it would be best moving forward if the two parties were able to move on away from each other. In other words, Antonio Brown is seeking a trade, and the Steelers are more than willing to move him. That being said, they're going to move him if he can get a long-term deal with another team. And I think that's truly what he's looking for. He wants to be wanted by an organization, and he wants to be appreciated. So we'll see how it works out. Honestly, I think Antonio Brown moving on from the Steelers is a good move for the Steelers too. It gets them younger at that position, and for some reason, the Steelers can always find a receiver in the woods. It's amazing to me. Antonio Brown is just a part of a very nice list of Steeler receivers that they have put together through the years. Couple other things. Joe Flacco, former Ravens quarterback, signed with the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos quarterback previously was Case Keenum. They literally just signed him last year. So we're going to see where this goes for John Elway and the Denver Broncos. I'm very interested to see how they do drafting-wise and what their plans are. I think either way, they are still going to have to look towards the future with this organization. And also to see what their plans are with Case Keenum. Do they keep him? Do they try and trade him? Do they move him to another organization? And if so, where would he go? So we will see. There were a few talks recently by commentators and talking heads that the NFL owners, a few of the NFL owners, had questioned Adam Silver and got into conversations with him about being the NFL football commissioner. Kudos to Adam Silver. Adam Silver, you are the commissioner of the NBA. I give you great kudos because you have done a wonderful job with the NBA. I know you're really still trying to work on the international game or international viewing of the NBA as a whole. But as of right now, I think the NBA is truly trying to make a turnaround with the viewership and everything else going on. It's going to be great to see what you can do moving forward with the NBA. And he said to the NFL owners, just like you and I, he's a fan. He's a fan of basketball. All he wants to do is do right by the organization. He is one of those owners, one of those people that is in the organization knowing that He doesn't run the organization. He's just a part of the organization moving forward. And he's trying to advance it in every way that he can, which is wonderful to see out of an owner. He doesn't need to be pounding his chest and saying, look what I did. Look at me. I am the owner, or I am the president of the organization. Roger Goodell. So I think that moving forward, this is going to be a very interesting story. I think Adam Silver squashed it. I think he's going to continue to run the NBA, and the NFL owners are just going to have to figure it out. Another big story, Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed reached a settlement with the NFL on their collusion grievance. It is reported that Colin Kaepernick possibly made upwards of $80 million. I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know all the facts, and I don't know why they would do this. But it does seem to me that the NFL really kind of accepted its guilt as far as keeping Colin Kaepernick out of the NFL for a few years. For those of you that don't know, Colin Kaepernick was the player that took the knee during the national anthem, and it was colluded by all NFL owners that they should not give him a job moving forward and that he shouldn't play in the NFL. And all the owners were in agreement that they weren't going to sign him. I think that's a load of malarkey. I think it's going to be very hard for Colin Kaepernick to get a job moving forward, even though I did hear 2 organizations that might be interesting. Think about it. Carolina Panthers, good front office, good coach. Also, Eric Reed's already on that team. And the New England Patriots. Think about it. It might happen. Bill Belichick is known to take on project players. He's also likes his savvy vets. And if he can take them on, coach them up, and in a year trade them for somebody, it could happen. Remember, there is a need out there for quarterbacks. Obviously, you got a lot of quarterbacks making big money. Nick Foles looking to cash in. Some other backup quarterbacks looking to cash in. So it's going to be very interesting moving forward. Who would be interested, or what is the market for Colin Kaepernick? That being said, I know there is a market for Colin Kaepernick because the AAF, yes, I'm still talking about it. I'm sorry. It's got my interest. Had offered Tim Tebow and Colin Kaepernick contracts. Dinner's done. Tim Tebow said no to the contract because of his baseball career and willingness and trying to advance his baseball career. Kudos to you, Tim Tebow. I appreciate you. I think you're a hell of an athlete. I can't even believe you're going to be playing baseball at the level you're going to be playing this year. Colin Kaepernick said that he wanted $22 million a year to play in this league. Every player in this league makes $250,000. Every player. You're the kicker, you're the running back, you're the offensive lineman, every player. I don't know what this guy thinks he's worth, but it's not $22 million, not even to this league. I'm sorry, but you're not. You cannot put yourself on a pedestal and be better than others. It's just, that disgusts me. But obviously moving forward, he's not going to be playing. Also, that the Carolina Hurricanes owner has recently invested $250 million to the AAF, and he is moving forward, going to serve as the director of the AAF board of or chairman of the AAF board of directors. Now, $250 million is no chump change. I think this man moving forward is going to make a large difference in the AAF. I think he always has great ideas. He is very an interesting person, an interesting Google, let's put it that way. Tom Dundon, if you get a chance, Google it. He seems to have the right business sense, business head on his shoulders. So we will see what this money is for. We will see if it causes an issue or if the AAF is really not going to make it. So on to the NBA. Oh wait, you were on All-Star break. No one cares about All-Star break weekend. I will get back to the NBA next week. I'm excited to see the final 25 games of the season, see what some teams can do, maybe come out with some power rankings and what the playoff preview might look like in the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, who's going to jostle for positions and get the home court advantage. So that is going to be interesting. And last but not least, today, breaking news, Manny Machado signed a 10-year, $300 million contract with the San Diego Padres. Honestly, I thought he would sign for more, but I don't know. I don't know what the market was for Manny Machado, but I'm telling you every now and then, everyone out there, that this seems like a move of desperation from Manny Machado's agent, so we will see how it works out. The San Diego Padres, I know that I heard a few Padres fans speak. Some were disgusted, some were ecstatic. I will have more on this story next week, and we're still waiting on you, Bryce Harper. We are still waiting on you, especially guys like me from Philly in the Philadelphia area. Please sign with us. Promise I won't boo you. Well, you still got to play well. Anyway, thank you very much again for joining me in another episode of the show that is still searching for its identity. As always, I promise to do better next week as I did this week. And remember, until next week, row the boat.